With only 4 months left until GCSEs, if you're not achieving the grades you want, you can only blame it on yourself. And it's time for you to take accountability. Either you've been cheating on all the tests you've had, been skipping homeworks, or just skipping school in general. However, there's no point dwelling on your mistakes, but realizing that it's time to change, and it's time to change now. Now, this specific video will be able to kickstart your change, allow you to jump maybe from 1 grade up to even 3 grades. But all you have to do is put your utmost effort to follow the tips that I say. I'll be given subject specific tips to go anywhere from 5s to grade 9s with 4 months left. And each subject will be time stamped below. So make sure you either watch through the whole thing or skip to where you need. Let's get straight into it. For maths, the method to improve is simple. Simply use a past paper to identify your weaknesses. Once you've marked this past paper, note down how many marks you lost and what topics were the marks you lost. And once you've done this, you have an exact list of what you need to revise most urgently. You would then go on to Maths Genie or GCSE Maths Tutor, go to that topic, complete the questions before you do any past paper. Make sure you've covered all your mistakes and eliminated them. Then go to attempt another past paper and repeat this process. This will undoubtedly see you make improvement. If you're aiming for grade 9s, after a while, you'll see that some topics and concepts are easy for you. This is when you specialize into completing grade 9 papers or papers that only have hard questions in it. You can do this by simply only doing the last quarter of tests or going to find grade 9 specific papers that are specialized with only hard questions in. But a word of warning is to only do this when you're absolutely sure and certain that you are ready for this, and don't skip any simple topic because this definitely could come back to bite you. Also, don't forget to comment the grades you're achieving now and the grades you're planning to achieve by the end of GCSEs down in the comments, because I'm going to be replying to every single comment with personal advice on how you can get to those grades. Don't forget to do this. You should probably do it now. For English language, what I first want you to do is to create a document with all the questions, all the timings, and each assessment objective that the examiner is looking for in each question. Then I want you to list a number of very easily recognizable literary techniques that will be in every single article that the examiners could pull out. This will be very useful because sometimes literary techniques are hard to spot. In the description, I'll be linking my exact document so you can see reference for this. Additionally, next thing I want you to do for English language is to create an adaptable 40-mark essay that you can use for many different essay prompts. Now, what will come in handy here is using intentional flair. This is when you specifically use literary techniques to impress the examiner. For example, cyclical structure or spacing out many different punctuation types all across your essay, or the use of a red herring. Your list of literary techniques will become very useful here, as you have a memorized list of literary techniques and know how to use them, so you can put them into your essay. And lastly, you need to include your complex grade 9 vocabulary. Someone who achieves a grade 9 is obviously going to speak in a much more enhanced and sophisticated way. And so you have to be going onto Google and looking for grade 9 lists of complex vocabulary. Especially if you don't read a lot and it won't come naturally, you need to be making sure you're forcing these complex words in. What I did was I went online, found a list, and made sure to try and learn a few words from them every week. And by going over these words before my exam, I was able to fit a good few in, which definitely made a difference. I'll be linking the list I used in the description below, so make sure to check it out. For English literature, what I want you to do is to create highly adaptable essay plans, much like English language, where you can reuse the same quotes for many different paragraphs, but just tweak the analysis slightly. This will mean you can formulate through maybe 15 different paragraphs, numerous essays which will cover every single topic that they could possibly ask. This will mean that there are no surprises on the day. This is because in the exam, having to make up analysis on the spot is not fun and very inconvenient. And so, by having these essay plans automatically in your head, you know exactly what to write when you get into the exam. Now, I will link down below my Romeo and Juliet example plan so you can see what you're supposed to do for this. And also take in mind that this applies for poetry as well. You can't directly plan each and every comparison as there'd be thousands of them. However, what you can do, choose the poem or a few poems that you think you're best at and you can most strongly compare to others. Know these poems very well as knowing the others, and have set analysis that you know you're going to use when you get into the exam. This will make comparing the poems much easier on the day, as you're not going to have to think of new analysis, but you're going to have some pre-planned analysis on the spot in your head. Now next, triple science. This works for combined science, foundation, or higher, so everyone can keep listening. Now, revising for this is actually quite simple, much like maths. See, for triple science, you need to make sure you memorize all the content. I have just released the exact flashcards that I curated and optimized for this AQA specification on my most recent community post, so be sure to check those out and download them. Now, before you get to memorizing, you have to understand the content first. So I'd suggest using YouTube videos in your textbook. This doesn't mean making notes, which would probably be a waste of time, but instead understanding the content and then going on to memorize it. And once you've done with this, you've completed a module, you can then go to PMT, Physics and Maths Tutor, and apply this knowledge to as many practice questions as possible. You want to be, first of all, marking yourself harshly, noting where you lose a mark, and eliminating and narrowing down on your weaknesses to make sure that you leave no weaknesses for the real GCSE. Now, once you do this same process and repeat, you will definitely see improvement, and there's no doubt about it. But make sure to put your utmost effort in. If you want to improve in your modern foreign language, you have to follow this tip. For the listening and reading papers, vocabulary is essential. Now, this means you have to go to your subject specification, every single bit of vocabulary that it could include in any of its papers. Now, what you should do is take this and use a flashcard app. I recommend Quizlet because it has a copy and paste feature that makes this 100 times easier. Paste these words in and then create flashcards for each and every word. And I want you to just simply memorize these words. This will make listening and reading so easy, and it will feel like a breeze because you know every single word that they're saying and can easily answer the questions. Speaking and writing. Now, what you have to do here is create specific flashcards for each question that could be asked. You should be looking around online to find a list of the possible writing questions, maybe using past papers or creating your own based on what's in your textbook or specification. Once you do this, create a list for every single point that can come up and memorize this. This will pay dividends in your speaking exam because having to make an answer on the spot is really pressuring. And so by having these memorized, you're simply just regurgitating what you've done so many times. This will make writing and speaking so much easier. So trust me when I tell you to do this. I'll be leaving an example of one of my French flashcards that I did for this in the description, so make sure to check it out after this video. For this section, I've grouped the sort of humanities subjects all together. I'm talking about history, geography, religious studies, and economics. For these subjects, I'm going to give you general information, then specific for some of them. So, for all of them, I made the mistake of revising too much content. That is not what you want to be doing because it's too time consuming. Each and every one of these subjects have a specific element, which are that their long form questions have specific structures that you need to use for the answers. This makes the exam so much easier because the examiner sees exactly what they want to see. There are certain assessment objectives that they have to see to mark your answer up. And by having a structure that you can ask your teacher for, or check examiner reports, or simply just look at mark schemes, by copying these essay structures, this makes it very clear to the examiner that you have exactly what they need inside the answer. Now, you can substitute this for some of the content because in these kinds of subjects, they load you with a lot of content, but you don't actually need all of it. So by having enough, so a suitable amount of content, as well as the correct exam technique, going from 5s to 9s should be very easy. Now, for economics specifically, I want to say know your graphs and understand the meaning behind them. The concepts at GCSE aren't too difficult, so this shouldn't be too hard. And in order to get some intentional flair, you might want to bring in real life examples from perhaps the UK's economy into your answers. The examiner will definitely notice this. This may make them biased to give you a higher mark, so you might want to try it out. For statistics, it's quite similar to maths. The only difference is there is a memorization aspect to it. I would say make flashcards for the sampling techniques and all the different pros and cons that you need to memorize across the course. There's a good website for notes called Stats Academy, so make sure to check it out. I'll link it in the description. And overall, just complete lots of past papers and use the same improvement process that I've listed for maths and triple science, and you will definitely see results. For DT, my tip is to make sure you nail your coursework because this provides the large majority of the marks. Now, this is because the DT exams are often quite difficult and have very niche knowledge and so by nailing your coursework and maximizing your marks there, you will be able to try get to the higher boundaries more easily. Now, this is difficult because coursework requires consistent commitment over a long period of time. However, by just doing a little bit often, you will be able to achieve a great mark in your coursework and go from maybe a 5 to a 9. Now, remember, guys, if you didn't comment your grades, make sure to do that now. I've shared a lot of my resources as examples in this video, and so subscribing would be great. I hope this video was very valuable and will help you go from those bad grades to the good grades that you want by the end of this summer. And remember, there's only 4 months left, so you need to get revising soon. Thank you for watching.